Hi everyone, my name is Adam Sloan. Welcome to today's session on advanced AI and ML and how we can use that to secure your mobile workforce. In today's session, we'll be covering some of the current cybersecurity trends as it relates to mobile. We'll also have a bit of a look at the introduction to MTD or mobile threat defense market in general. Then we'll move into a bit more information about CylancePROTECT for mobile, really what it is, why is it needed, and what are some of the new features that have been added in the latest release. And then we're going to jump into a live demonstration where we're going to have a look at some real threats on mobile. We'll have a look at the administration console. We'll also have a look at the mobile app and really just give you a live view of how that all works on a mobile device. But first up, let's have a look at the real market for mobile threat defense. So we're not really just seeing threats start to occur across your more traditional endpoints, and those are laptops and servers and those types of machines. But over the last couple of years, we've really started to see a trend in threat actors targeting mobile devices. And right now, if we look back in 2020, there was about 42 million instances of mobile malware attacks targeting mobile devices. And right now, the market for MTD is really valued at about $350 million. And if we look at some specific applications in general, we're seeing that generally about 1 in 5 of those are starting to or have the ability to leak personally identifiable information out to, again, particularly vulnerable sources. So if we have a look at why mobile threat defense, and this is really a view from the analyst industry. So really mobile threat defense products are there to help counter some of the malicious threats to both iOS and Android devices, and also more recently Chromebook devices as they emerge in trends across the education sector. We also need to kind of think about the strength of the overall mobile security posture across an organization as, again, mobile devices are being used more and more for mobility reasons and are using and having increased security hygiene across those devices. If we have a look at some of the latest updates from Gartner, really there's a lot of different vendors out there and a lot of different products covering slightly different areas of the portfolio. So some are existing endpoint protection vendors. We see some are standalone mobile threat defense providers, and some are a little bit of a mix of both. So we'll have a look at some of those deployment scenarios that might be out there and might be confusing you to your organization. We're seeing a large uptake with mobile threat defense in particularly regulated sectors. Some of those have BYOD type scenarios that they're either looking to deploy or have deployed, and really just organizations that really want to improve the overall security posture and hygiene across their entire device and endpoint estate. MTD is also kind of being used as another feature of zero trust network access or ZTNA solutions, and really also being there to be used as another piece of telemetry if we're starting to look at XDR or extended detection and response. And we'll have a look at how mobile threat defense fits into that overall piece of the puzzle as we move through these slides. So if we have a look at some of the deployment scenarios, we previously covered the why and some of the value in terms of why you would potentially look at deploying a mobile threat defense solution inside your organization. And really they're broken down into 4 key deployment options. And if we're looking at those deployment options, not all of those can be done by each vendor that's out there. So again, looking for vendors that are able to sort of meet your deployment scenarios is very, very important. If we look at the first deployment scenario, this is really kind of looking at integration with your existing unified endpoint management solution. So those are devices that are managed by an MDM or a UEM platform, but also have the ability either directly integrated or built into that UEM platform. So again, really giving you that one-stop shop, single pane of glass management across all of those different types of devices that are across the organization. And because of that direct integration, with the UEM, it gives you that ability to be able to provide those remedial actions, such as being able to wipe devices, change policies around, or really configure and change the behavior of those devices based off the threats that might occur on those devices as detected by the mobile threat defense product. The second option is a standalone mobile threat defense application on devices. And again, we see that as probably the most common deployment method right now. So this is a separate application that can be deployed. It may be on managed devices, but typically it's on unmanaged devices. And that's just due to the BYO type deployments that exist and having end users install an application, which is then integrated or enrolled in the mobile threat defense product. And then that information is then fed up into the mobile threat defense portal and is then able to be used to provide those checks and balances across the device. But again, because the device isn't necessarily managed in this deployment method, not always can you deploy all of the management controls and visibility across those types of devices. The third option, which is probably more of an emerging kind of integration that we're starting to see, and that is the ability to provide mobile threat defense inside of applications that you might be creating as an organization. Those applications might be ones that are used for you and your staff and employees, but it also could be ones that are made available to the consumer or your customers. So what we're able to do with that is be able to provide mobile threat defense solutions inside your application that gives you the ability to be able to check for certain things on the device before that application may be used. And a really good use case for that could be your banking applications, for example. So if we detect on the device that application is jailbroken or rooted, or maybe has applications on the device that may be vulnerable, we could potentially look at stopping your access to that internet banking application until you resolve those threats on the device. So again, really key and emerging product there for both application developers as well as applications that are available to the public. And then the last option is another area that is kind of key and upcoming, is more of a network-based MTD or mobile threat defense solution. So that's really there to look at and understand network traffic that's occurring from these devices, really to see if there's potential issues on the device that may be using kind of compromised networks, or networks that may be doing man-in-the-middle attacks or other types of network-based attacks. So again, giving you that extra visibility on the device, but without having the requirement to install a third-party application on that specific device. So if we have a look at the MTD market and some of the typical use cases, as we mentioned before, we're really looking to use these types of tools to improve the overall posture of those devices. So again, the customers that we're talking to are really looking at mobile threat defense to extend the protection that they have today on their desktop environment onto mobile. We're also seeing uptake in deployments in UEM solutions like Microsoft Intune. And recently we've had integration with that particular product, so we can use mobile threat defense by Cylance and be able to provide the threat mediation by Microsoft Intune. We're also seeing it used for application vetting. So being able to use these types of tools to be able to scan your applications as they're created, particularly if you're outsourcing your application development activities to third-party vendors, giving you that ability to be able to run those applications through some checking and vetting type tools within the platform, really just to make sure that those applications are indeed safe before they're actually deployed out to your staff or your customers. Another area that's key and emerging, and again, you've probably all seen this on the surge in the last couple of years, is really that mobile phishing or smishing based attacks. So those are traditionally text messages or MMS messages that are being sent to your devices that are making you potentially follow malicious links or install malicious applications that are then used to potentially compromise your device or your credentials or other types of account type information. So being able to check out those particular links to make sure that they're safe before people follow them is a really key component of mobile threat defense. Then, as I mentioned, really for use as part of a broader strategy. So using the telemetry that's coming from those mobile devices to be able to give you greater visibility across your device's state and be able to use those types of things as decision-making processes for you within the organization. So again, as we look at the entire BlackBerry cybersecurity platform, you can see there's multiple boxes here in terms of what we're looking at as part of the BlackBerry Extended Detect and Response platform. And you can see there's multiple pillars here. Today, we're predominantly talking about mobile protection, which is the section highlighted in blue. And you can see all the things that we're doing across all of our products are underpinned by the Cylance AI, so next generation AI and machine learning that's being used to improve cybersecurity on the devices on your behalf. And again, as part of that extended detect and response portfolio, we can see this really does augment the other areas of the product, such as desktop protection, behavioral risk and analysis, threat hunting and detection, network access, and endpoint management, for example. So now we're going to have a look specifically at CylancePROTECT Mobile for MTD version 3.0. So again, we're really looking at some key pillars within this particular product. So one is having a look at the applications. So again, for our customers here that are using BlackBerry UEM, this technology is also built into those applications. So it gives you that ability to identify mobile malware, looking at the way applications work via sandboxing and code analysis. We're also looking at application security techniques, looking at remote reverse engineering of those types of attacks, really just to make sure those applications are safe. And we're able to provide this visibility to you by using either BlackBerry UEM with the protected applications or standalone using CylancePROTECT for mobile. Being able to give you that visibility and ability to protect the endpoint. So again, looking at the actual mobile devices themselves to understand the mobile OS versions, what security updates are running on those devices, right up to the individual patch level, giving you visibility in terms of specific vulnerabilities that might occur on those specific versions, looking at device configurations, whether devices are particularly jailbroken or rooted, whether applications may be sideloaded, and giving you that visibility on the device in real time of those particular threats. And then also giving you the ability to remediate via integration with both BlackBerry UEM as well as the newest integration with Microsoft Intune. Then we're also looking at protecting the data, so extending on top of the zero trust framework that we have with the rest of the mobile and desktop portfolio with a single application that's able to then extend out to other areas of the portfolio. And again, we'll have a look at this in more detail in the demonstration where we'll look at the mobile application in more detail. So what are some of the newest features that we released in this new version? So again, a lot of this has been designed to meet enterprise and government needs. So some of the changes we've added is giving you the ability to add multiple devices per user. Again, a lot of you out there are probably working with both a mobile device and a tablet. So extending on top of what we did with CylancePROTECT for desktop, is giving you that ability to run Protect on both your traditional endpoints, such as Windows 10, Mac OS, Linux, for example, but also do that same thing on mobile and give you that same level of protection across those devices, giving you that ability, like I said, to run the same client on, say, your iPhone or your Android phone and your tablet, or even more recently, your Chromebook device as well. So really, this just gives real ease of management and self-service ability for those end users as well. We've also improved extended syslog and SIEM integration as well. So any events that are sent from the mobile devices through the console are now also sent through to your syslog server or SIEM. So really, the value there is to give your SOC or your threat detection or intelligence teams more information that's coming in through your devices. So again, extending that visibility out, giving you that ability to threat hunt across not only your traditional endpoints, but also now recently your mobile devices as well. We've also made some administration improvements in the console as well, so we'll walk through these in a little bit more detail later. But again, giving you a lot more dashboarding functionality, auditing of admin accounts, greater exporting and reporting functionality. So you're able to get greater visibility within the estate across the mobile devices as well. We've also improved the Protect app on mobile to really just give users a greater level of experience across their mobile devices. So really, we've got one BlackBerry or CylancePROTECT application now that can be used across multiple areas of the portfolio. So as your needs change across the organization, this single application can be used to extend out across those particular products as well. So for example, not only is this application right now we're talking about today giving you all that ability to view your mobile threat defense information, your mobile estate security, it can also be used for gateway, so being able to provide zero trust network access to your mobile estate, which you can see on this screenshot on the right-hand side. You can see work mode, but also giving you extra functionality in persona as well, which is all around understanding user behavior and entity analysis as well. So giving you that visibility around where people are accessing the environment and the tools, and understanding whether they might be particular risks from their devices that might be coming in. But today, like I said, we're very much focused on the mobile threat defense solution. But again, this app has been designed that as your needs grow as an organization, you don't have to go and install extra third-party applications to enhance or increase functionality. They're simply areas that can be enabled and licensed within the console. Next up is our integration with Microsoft Intune. So again, another key component, and a lot of areas where we've had feedback from customers is really we're doing a great job in providing that visibility across the mobile estate based off the threats that we detect. But also customers now wanted the ability to be able to help automate the remediation activities that go along with that. So with the latest release, we've provided support for integration with Microsoft Intune. So right now it's supported for Intune enrolled devices, and via a planned update coming soon, we'll also have support for unenrolled or mobile application management devices as well. So the way this sort of works is we detect the threats or the risks on the mobile app. We will provide the user the view on their client in terms of that particular threat. The threats are then classified as either high, medium, or low, and that information is then sent to Microsoft Intune. Microsoft Intune, via the configuration there, can then apply different policies, profiles, group management, access to enterprise resources via conditional access, and that can be controlled via these high, medium, and low risks that are being sent from CylancePROTECT. So remediation activities are automated as part of that threat being detected. And once those threats have been remediated, so the user has got themselves back into a state of safety, those access controls are automatically wound back, so then users can automatically access the environment again. Again, these do require some extra subscriptions, and again, we can talk to you about these in a little bit more detail if we need to. As I mentioned, we've got the direct integration with Microsoft Intune. So you can see here on the left-hand side, we've got a EMM connections integration. So right now our integration is with Microsoft Intune, and this is done via a connector. CylancePROTECT is on the Microsoft Intune supported integration list, and we do have documented how-tos and guides on how to complete this integration between the two consoles. And then we've just got some screenshots there on the right-hand side in the bottom right-hand corner, talking about those high, medium, and low risks. And you as an organization have that ability to control how you deem those particular risks, for example. So, for example, if you deem that a rooted or jailbroken device is a high severity risk, you can simply drag and drop these relevant detections into the high, medium, and low risk categories. And those are what are used to then control the integrations and controls that are sent through to Microsoft Intune that then enforces the compliance on those particular mobile devices. We've also got integration, like I said before, with BlackBerry UEM as well as the BlackBerry Dynamics application. So those of you that are on this session that are BlackBerry UEM customers and use the BlackBerry Dynamics applications, we have these controls built into the applications themselves. So there's nothing further to configure from an end user's perspective. An admin can configure this and enable it on the console, and they will automatically then be enabled without the user having to download or install anything separate on the device. Again, and this can be used with BYO use cases as well. So again, if users aren't device managed, but they are using our applications for mobile application management, then this is a really good way of being able to provide an extra layer of protection and visibility and controls across those applications. And again, we'll do a demonstration of this in a little while that will take you through how that protection works in real time. Some of the dashboards, like I said earlier, have been improved. So we have completely recreated the mobile threat dashboard in the newest release. So this gives you the ability in real time to get a great view of all of the mobile devices that are enrolled in the platform across the entire estate. These can also be customized as well. So you have the ability to drag and drop certain parts of these widgets to create your own customized dashboards. And the graphs and dashboards are also interactive. So you do get the ability to click on certain sections and bring up that further information as needed to drill into a particular threat or trend that you might be able to or might require investigation as part of your threat hunting type use cases. We're also looking at the network traffic as well in the latest release. So again, it's another key area that a lot of our customers have asked about, is being able to be very granular around what is deemed safe and unsafe Wi-Fi when it comes to mobile devices. So we look at a couple of things. So on Android, we're able to turn on insecure Wi-Fi for specific encryption levels across access points. So you have the ability to deem if you detect a device that might be running on WPA networks, for example, which again is very insecure. You can actually alert based off that particular threat to ensure that users are on Wi-Fi networks that might be safe. You could also do it, for example, on Wi-Fi networks that might be open. So if you don't have a tolerance for, say, guest networks, for example, then this could be an area where you look at configuring to be able to control whether that is something that you deem tolerable or not across your devices. What we also do is we actually look at detecting man-in-the-middle attacks as well. So we're able to investigate the networks that users are connected to. And if we deem that they're potentially performing man-in-the-middle attacks, we can alert the user to that particular threat. And this feature is available on both iOS and Android. So again, networks that aren't safe or maybe collecting or sniffing information, we're able to alert against that. So users are aware and they can quickly change networks. Or, like I said, with the integration with both BlackBerry UEM and Microsoft Intune, you have the ability to provide controls over what may be done in the event that those are detected. All right, so next up, we're going to walk through a little bit of a demonstration. So we're going to take you through the console. We'll walk through each of the relevant sections. And then what we'll also do is we'll have a look at a mobile device and we'll load up some threats on there and we'll show you what occurs on those devices in real time. Okay, so first up, we have the dashboard. So this is the newly created mobile dashboard that I just spoke about in the presentation. So here, like I said, it gives you a really good view of devices that are enrolled in the platform across the mobile estate. And again, for those of you that might be using CylancePROTECT already, this is built into the existing platform. So it's purely another dashboard and it's another level of protection that you can add. And again, we can work with you on testing or enabling this functionality as required with you. So as I mentioned, it gives you a great view of the devices across the estate. This is just my test tenant, so there's not a huge amount of devices enrolled, but you can see here I've got 4 devices enrolled out of the 12 for this organization. I've currently got 1 mobile device that has alerts. Within the time period, right now I've got this filtered on the last 120 days, but you can customize this as you require. there has been 24 mobile threats detected, and there's currently one that is unresolved. If we look on the right-hand side, we can see some malicious applications, and we'll do some demos and we'll talk about some of the real-life scenarios that have occurred with these actual applications. And then we start to break down these into a little bit more of a graphical manner. So alerts by category in both kind of pie charts as well as a histogram based off time. We look at some of the mobile OSs as well, which we will dig into as well. So having a look at what versions of Android in this particular example, as well as the patch level, as well as some of the sort of the known CVEs for these particular applications and OSs as well. So you get that visibility of kind of what might be there within your environment. And again, we're not going to go through each and every sort of one of these, but again, a lot of information here graphically represented for you to take you through that visibility of the devices that are there across the mobile estate. If we have a look here, we can see vulnerability. So if we drill down into this section, what will build out as you deploy more and more mobile devices is the individual operating systems that are running on these devices. So you can see right now, I've got three Android devices, again depicted here by the OS label, as well as one Apple device. And you can see here we've broken down the CVE for those individual operating systems as well. And then we go that next step further and actually break down the actual criticality of those CVEs or vulnerabilities as well within those OSs. So we find when we start to work with customers on this gives them that visibility on setting and configuring their kind of most tolerable operating systems and patch levels that they then configure via policy. So then you can alert on them and obviously remediate if required for users on those particular versions. And really you want to be getting your users up to later versions of software versions on their device. So they're obviously as most protected as they can be. We can click on any of these as well. And what it will do is it will drill down on each of these particular vulnerabilities. It will also give you each individual CVE, as well as a description of that, as well as its time. And what we can also do is we can actually click on these as well, and we can actually drill down on this information further by looking at NIST to kind of break down the actual specifics of this CVE. So again, giving you that kind of one-stop shop to understand kind of the criticality of these vulnerabilities that might exist on mobile devices within your organization. Next up, we'll have a look at some of the actual alerts. So these are alerts that are coming in through from your mobile devices. So you can see right now, I only have one that is currently in unacknowledged or hasn't been resolved. So you can see here, it's automatically filtered on status is new. And this particular issue is due to one of my devices running an unsupported security patch. And this has been configured via policy, and it's done deliberately, mainly for demo purposes. But I have a requirement that any Android device, and that's Google Android in this particular scenario, needs to be running a patch level that's higher than the 2021 September version. If any devices are running lower than that, they're actually going to be picked up as a particular alert. So in a second, we'll have a look on the mobile device and we'll show you how that look and feel is. Again, these individual alerts and events would also be sent through to your SIEM as well. So you then have that visibility again to aggregate across the rest of your data that you have across the organization. If we remove this new filter, we will then drill down on all of the actual alerts that we've seen across the mobile devices that have been enrolled in mobile threat defense. Just quickly on policies, I'm going to just quickly show you the configuration here of a policy. We won't go through it in a lot of detail because there is a lot here. However, we are very happy to take you through this in a little bit more detail if you reach out to us, and we can run a more detailed session on these particular settings and features and what might work best for your organization. As I mentioned as part of the presentation with the integration with Intune, this is the relevant section here where you can control what is deemed a high, medium, and low risk. And you get the ability here to drag and drop these relevant sections down to different criticalities based off your particular requirements. These can also be configured individually by a specific user or specific group as well. So we know that with organizations, Not all policies are going to work for all types of users. So you have that ability to be very granular around how you configure this. So you might have one policy for executives or other security conscious staff, and maybe a different lower set of requirements for other users within the organization as well. If we have a look at the Protect Mobile policy, again, this is where we configure what is actually detected on the mobile devices. Again, like the rest of the policies, these can be changed and configured per user and per group as you may require as well. Again, they're broken down per device or OS type, so Android and iOS. Note, the Android app does also work on Chromebook, like I mentioned before, so this can also provide you greater visibility across those Chromebook devices that might be inside of your organization. Within here, we can turn on the relevant sections for what we want to look at across the devices. So we've got application security detections. We've got the different notification types as well. So we get that visibility of what actually is being detected, as well as how we want to notify. Do we want to just push notify, or do we want to push notify an email, or just email, for example? We obviously want to look at things like compromised devices. So if a device is jailbroken or rooted, or if encryption isn't enabled on the disk, these are all things that we can configure. Like I mentioned before, we can also look at security patch levels as well, which is a very important thing to look at. Like I mentioned, as part of this demonstration, I've set up a policy to look at Google devices specifically, and I've specifically targeted the Google Pixel XL, which is the test device that I'm using. But you can configure these as required based off your particular device's state, as well as minimum and maximum security patch levels that might be ones that you want to make sure are not running within the environment. Obviously, different vendors run slightly different patch cycles across their versions as well. So you could look at Google devices slightly differently to Samsung devices, to Apple devices, to whatever that meets your requirements. We can also control within here the Wi-Fi networks, like I said before. So any open network or any web network, we can also mark as insecure, and those are then networks that we would deem untrustworthy, as well as looking at the man-in-the-middle type attacks here as well, with unsafe network connections that we look at too. Lastly, we have the SMS detection as well. So this is looking at SMS messages that come through that may contain potentially malicious URLs. So those are URLs that could be used to potentially phish or smish you out of your credentials, whether those are personal accounts, corporate accounts, or maybe sending you to third-party links that might be getting you to install potentially mobile malware on the device. So again, there is a lot of information that you can configure in here in terms of detecting across the device. As I mentioned, if it is something that you do want to look at in a little bit more detail, we can certainly look at booking another session to kind of walk through this in a little bit more detail. What we're going to do next is I'm going to jump over to my mobile device, and we will go through a little bit of a demonstration of that. All right, so next up, we're going to have a look at the actual mobile device itself. So as you can see here, I've got the CylancePROTECT application running on the device. And again, it's just an application that you would install from the relevant app store, so either Google Play or the Apple App Store. It is also an application that if you are using mobile device management, that your administrator is able to push that out as an application that's either mandatory or one that is available for staff to install as required. So again, as I open up that application, you'll see per the alert and how we configured it earlier on, as you can see right now, I have a threat detected on the device, and very easily I can just go into the relevant section that's highlighted, and I get a breakdown of the relevant sections that we're looking for within the application and the device itself. So we're looking at device security, which is obviously the area that is alerting right now. We're looking at the applications, we're looking at the network, and we're also looking at the messages from a smishing and phishing perspective. If I go ahead and expand this option out, you'll see the reason that right now I'm in a medium level threat state is because I don't comply with the relevant security patch level that has been configured for my organization. So you'll remember when we looked at the policy, we said that it needed to be configured from, I think it was March this year or higher to be deemed in compliance. And the patch level that's running on this device right now is from September 2021. Again, we're very big on giving the user the self-remediation ability to be able to resolve this threat for themselves. So if you select the relevant option and then hit fix, we break down the relevant section that needs to be resolved, as well as giving them the instructions on being able to do that for themselves. So you can see here, the administrator does not allow the security patch that is running on the device. For more information, please contact your administrator. But we also have this check for software update section as well. So a user can select this, they can update their device to the latest software version, and bang, that particular threat would be resolved automatically. But we can see from the rest of the areas of the device we're looking at, such as the actual OS itself, the device being rooted or jailbroken, the disk is encrypted, we've got a screen lock enabled, I'm not using developer options, and the overall attestation checks used by Android have also passed, so I haven't tampered with the device or OS at all. So everything is fine there from a device perspective. If we look at the applications, we don't have any applications that are deemed malicious or sideloaded. The networks I'm on are safe. So the network I'm on right now is not performing a man-in-the-middle attack, and it isn't one that is open or using web encryption. And I also have message scanning enabled as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to jump into the device, and we're actually going to install some actual threats on it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to install a pretty common threat that was actually going around. It was in probably mid 2021, early 2021 or so. And that's something called FluBot. And FluBot is something that was going around really targeting sort of remote workers around the time of COVID lockdown starting to occur. And at that time, it was really targeting the messages to come from the carrier to let them know that they had voice messages to listen to. So the message sort of read something like, you have a voicemail, please click here to listen to your voicemail. And there would be a link, quite often a shortened link. So it would be one that would be using one of those shortened URL type platforms. And basically what they would try and get you to do is install a voicemail application that was actually mobile malware. So again, really trying to socially engineer and try and get the user to install that application. And what that application would do when it was opened would basically take advantage of some of the accessibility features in Android to basically take over the device. So some of the things it did was use the overlay features in Android to put overlays over your common applications. So those might be your banking applications, it might be your Netflix account, your social media, any type of account that might be of interest to the threat actor. And as you enter those credentials, they would be sent back to the threat actor via command and control. The threat actor could also do other things via command and control, such as turn on your camera or your microphone. They could steal your contact information, your SMS messages, and they could also install other third-party applications via command and control. So again, quite scary stuff. What we are going to do, though, for this demonstration is we are going to install it just to show you what happens from a threat perspective when we actually go through the installation process. So what we're going to do here is we're going to refresh the alert page, and we're going to go back and look at the Protect app now that I have installed this particular threat. And you can see that what has gone from a medium level threat has now turned a high level threat because of what has been installed on this device. So you can see the device security is still medium risk, but now I've got two high security threats from an app perspective. So you can see here, we breached the policy twice because we're breaching the sideloaded apps policy, which a sideloaded app is any app that has been installed on the device, not via a endorsed app store. But also worse, the application that we've installed has been deemed malicious. Okay, so again, we've actually deemed using our artificial intelligence that's running on the device that this application is doing bad. So again, we've alerted the user for that too. But again, what we're doing here is giving that user that ability to self-remediate. So again, if they click this fix option, the user's taken right to this voicemail section, which is the malicious application. They can quickly and easily hit uninstall, and the threat has been remediated. However, before I do that, I want to show you, for those customers that we've got on here that are using BlackBerry UEM, we've got the same integration that you can see here with BlackBerry Protect Mobile or CylancePROTECT Mobile within the BlackBerry Dynamics software development kit. So you can see here, while I've got these threats installed on my device, I actually can't access any of my work content because these threats exist on the device. And again, we make it very clear to the user that they've got threats on their device that they need to uninstall before application access will continue. So again, we've detected malware, and we've also detected the application has come from an untrusted source, i.e. sideloaded. So me as a user, I can go, oh no, that's not great. I didn't realize that was done. And I can quickly go in here. I can go in and hit the uninstall. Again, remove it, confirm it, re-enter my corporate password for my corporate container. And instantly I've been able to remediate that threat on my device, and I've got access to all of my content again in real time. I'll also, if I move back into the Protect app, you can see that those app security controls that were there that were high risk before have now been marked as safe, or those particular threats have cleared. And as we refresh the mobile app alert section, we should see that these threats have been removed because they have been resolved. Again, these are sent through to your SIEM, so you do have them as record as being able to be used for other aggregation methods with your other security tools. And I'm just left with that one outstanding issue, which is my device using an unsupported security patch version. So that's going to be it for this demonstration. I hope you found it beneficial. All right, so now we're going to walk through some Q&A. So we have had some questions come through live during the session. So thank you very much for sending those through. Just a reminder though, if you do have further questions that you want me to try and cover off for you, please do put them in the chat/Q&A section, and we will get to them. So the first one that's come through is what is some of the key differences between CylancePROTECT for mobile and what some of our competitors offer? So first of all, that's a good question. It's one that we definitely see quite often from customers that are currently evaluating the mobile threat defense market. But I think one of the things to highlight is one of the first things I presented back in the slides was we looked at those multiple deployment methods that customers and organizations are considering. And really, BlackBerry is the one that's positioned to be able to cater for all of those deployment methods. So being able to cater for those sort of BYOD use cases that obviously a lot of organizations are either moving towards or have moved towards. But also there's organizations that still have a mix of deployment methodologies available. So they're still using corporate issued devices. They may have some of their organization maybe regulated and highly locked down. We've got obviously organizations that use BlackBerry UEM today. So being able to use that level of protection built into the applications without having to have the end user do anything extra. The features that you enable as an organization or as an IT team are ones that instantly take effect on those devices. So they don't need to do anything. It's just simply extra protection that's added, and that takes effect. Also with the SDK version, so again, application development partners, organizations creating business to consumer applications, all those are things where organizations are starting to think about their cybersecurity posture about all of these applications that are out in the wild on consumer applications, on consumer devices, starting to hit their corporate environment. So that is definitely an item that is being considered. And then lastly, like I said, the AI that we're running we're at our 6th generation right now, working on our 7th. Again, us bringing that model to mobile is huge. So I guess the difference that we have in this space is that we're looking for unknown threats. So threats that haven't occurred yet, using that artificial intelligence to be able to understand the behaviors of these files and what they're doing, to be able to protect you against these threats that have not been seen before is obviously very, very important. Next question is from an existing customer that uses CylancePROTECT on their desktop and servers. How can they go about testing that on mobile devices and tablets? Well, that's one that's very easy. So as you saw in the console demonstration, we've actually gone back and enabled all of the mobile features out to all customers. So Protect is Protect, whether it's on a Windows machine or a Linux machine or an Apple machine. So you can roll this out as you need to those endpoints. So if you've got some spare licenses that you haven't consumed yet and you want to enable this for maybe executives or high security personnel, then that's something that you're able to do. And again, the policies are there for you to create, like I kind of briefly walked through as part of the demonstration. The applications there available to download from the store. Enrollment is super simple via a QR code scanning enrollment method. And instantly those devices will be enrolled and you'll start to get that visibility and posture of those mobile devices. If it's something you want to investigate a little bit more, please do reach out to your BlackBerry account manager or sales engineer. We're more than happy to jump on a call with you to talk through what some of those requirements are, and then obviously work with you to configure a policy that obviously meets those particular requirements. Next question. So we're using a different vendor for our Windows and Mac endpoints. Can I still use CylancePROTECT for mobile? So the answer to that is does not require you to use the desktop or laptop or server deployment. Obviously, you've got the integration with Intune. So if you're using that today, then that's something that is very easily configured to support the enforcement of those remediation activities. But also, it might also be a good time for us to have a look at your current endpoint vendor to see if there's maybe some help that we can provide in that space as well around endpoint protection or endpoint detection and response as well. So next question is from a BlackBerry UEM customer. So we liked the ability to lock down the BlackBerry apps when a threat has been detected. How do we enable this in our environment? So the first thing to probably look at there is your current licensing. So definitely reach out to either your BlackBerry sales engineer or account manager just to have a look at what licenses might be in use and enabled within your organization. And then what we can do is get the feature enabled so we can enable trials and those types of things if required. You're then able to enable that functionality inside the UEM console. Again, we can work with you on what that looks like. And then policy setup it's a little bit different, obviously, than what we went through in the demonstration because it's in the UEM console. But all the relevant sections are there in the UEM console that you can then configure and then assign to your users that you would like to enable this functionality on. Maybe just one thing to note as well is just make sure your UEM environment is running at least 12.12 or higher. That is the minimum version, and ideally the latest version of the BlackBerry applications. Again, please reach out probably to your sales engineer in this specific instance so we can kind of talk through the specifics there as well. And there's one question that's just come through on Chromebooks. So you mentioned support for Chromebook. Is this support new? Yeah, it is a little bit new. So yeah, version 3.0 for CylancePROTECT for mobile did add support for Chromebook use. So again, you deploy that application in a very similar way to an Android application. So again, just installed from the Play Store. And then once enrolled, again, using QR code or your organization's credentials, once that's enrolled, you will then see basically all the protection kick in. You'll see the checks and balances in place across the device, the app, the network, and the messaging. And that will then start to then take effect. And again, any alerts that are sent from those Chromebooks will then be pushed into the console as well as your SIEM. But also more recently in the latest version of UEM, so 12.16.1, we can actually enroll and manage Chromebooks as well. So you're able to provide policy management and enforcement of policies on those particular devices as well. And then also the BlackBerry productivity apps, which you briefly saw in the demonstration, can also be used on Chromebooks as well. So again, we can kind of cater for a bit of a mix there of catering for BYO, so BYO use cases, as well as potentially if you've got any corporate issued assets that you would like to harden further, then the latest version of BlackBerry UEM can also cater for that particular scenario as well. We don't have any other questions that have come through, but again, please do send them through if you have any further questions that we haven't covered. We will capture them and we will get back to you on those specific answers after the conclusion of the webinar. I guess just a little bit of info around some extra resources you might want to consider looking at if you would like some further information. So one, you're able to grab the CylancePROTECT mobile data sheet. So that should be available to you on the attachment section of this webinar. But also take a look at our BlackBerry Cybersecurity microsite, which many of you viewing today have come via. So the link is there for you to investigate. So it has all of our upcoming events, obviously the event we're running on today, on-demand sessions, so a back catalogue of all of the previous sessions that we have run recently on the channel, a whole bunch of valuable resources, assets, and also the ability to contact an expert. But again, more importantly, we have an amazing catalogue of upcoming events that we're working on. So you subscribing to that does give you that visibility to see what's up and coming from a event perspective. So lastly, I just want to thank you all for your time in joining. We really do appreciate your investment of time to take out for us for this particular session. We really do appreciate you tuning in. So we definitely do appreciate that, and hope you do enjoy the rest of your day.